No, guys, it's fine. Tato was an AoE 4 player. There's got to be a Wallow. Whatever, I'm going to focus on this game. We've got Byzantines versus HRE. Who's going to be the true inheritor of the Roman Empire? Let's find out as we get ready for Myriad versus Recon. Basically, like, I don't want to say the two most powerful civs, but both of these civs are, I think it'd be fair to say, top 4 civs in the game right now. Intriguing to see what this one's going to entail. HRE versus Byzantines is an intriguing one to me because I think both civs have a lot of potential to play aggro in this matchup. You don't just have to camp. And I'm wondering, actually, HRE might be able to overwhelm the Byzantines' very powerful Javelin contract. The reason is with a 40% increased gathering rate on your entire economy, spamming archers to a number that overwhelms Byzantines actually isn't that hard. And the sicker part is because you have that extra movement speed, you can choose where you fight more freely. So I'm wondering what Myriad's solution is going to be to that. Maybe we see some Hippodrome play. The problem with Hippodrome play is you're just actively sacrificing your ability to scale as many jabs early on. And that puts you even more up against the ropes. And at the end of the day, do you really want to be building horsemen into a civ that has marching drill spearmen? That feels like a recipe for not just disaster, but absolute death. In fact, I'm wondering if Myriad just tried to hunker down and go castle. The gold spawn isn't crazy good for that, but like theoretically, you can get enough gold together and get a few Varangian out. And this matchup gets very interesting the later it goes, because you'd actually think the Byzantine player has to set the tempo, otherwise men-at-arms with heavy maces destroy them. Ahahaha, oh dearie me. No, actually it's the other way around. The later the game goes, the better Byzantines look, for a few different reasons. One of the big reasons is the Varangian come out so quickly that if you don't go Burgrave, you can't keep pace. The other issue that HRE usually has is Varangian with the teardrop shields. Reducing their attack speed to the amount it does, with that production speed, allows them to just berserk and wail on you. It's actually disgusting just how powerful Varangian can be in this matchup. Then you add in the fact that you're just layering in these olive oil units. You're not as far behind as you would be economically with other civs. So it looks like we are going to get the Grand Winery. That's another important detail here. Another thing that's really nice with Byzantines with Fast Castle is that you can quickly just try to rush out those initial Varangian, push your opponent back, and if they tech up on a delay, you're now picking up relics from the Grand Winery, and your opponent can't get out of his base. So I have a feeling that Recon might lean into something a bit less aggressive here. Are we getting more people turning up for community games? All right, we can do a check after this one to see if we've got enough people to play them. So 3 on gold. Arkin is out of range as well. That feels really bad for a Castle Age rush. Wood Gathering is up to 4 now. He's added in farm super early. This feels like it's going to be a castle build, unless he switches something very suddenly. Grand Winery on the other side, we should be getting into in this game. I'm a really big fan of Western Contract, unless you see mass archers. If you see mass archers, you want to be going Javs. If you do not see any commitment into Feudal Age, then I actually do believe that going Western makes a lot more sense. Right? Western when you need to defend, and then, sorry, Eastern, Silk. Words today. Silk when you need to defend, Western when you don't. Because Western will scale better in the late game, right? HRE is mainly going to be mass infantry late game. And funnily enough, Byzantines are better at doing Lanzknechts than HRE. You guys realize that? Like, legit. Think about all the games you've played as HRE and how hard it is to justify Lansk. Then think about all the games you've seen Byzantines build Lansk. It's so trivial, right? Like, the order of power and ease for these civs goes Order the Dragon, Byzantines, HRE. From easiest and best to build Lansk to worst. So tech up complete. And looks like it is just a switch. Okay, this makes more sense then for Recon. So it looks like we should be getting an archery range dropped almost immediately. You could open racks here. What is it with Recon in this? We've seen him do it with the Byzantines. We've seen him do it with pretty much every civ at the moment. It's almost like Recon took to heart his identity as a turtle and wants to completely change it around. What is the easiest way to make people think you're not a turtle? It has to be a horseman, right? Like, I can't think of a unit that is less defensively oriented. What an interesting build. Has he actually got the food to justify this? 8 sheep, doesn't feel crazy. He has got the deer behind the base. He could even think about shoving those in. What has he seen that makes him so inclined to do this, though? Because I feel like building horsemen up against the Byzantines is a disaster. They're going to build Limitane alongside Javs or Lombos, right? It's their bread and butter. So the only way this would make sense in my mind is if you thought you were up against horsemen. Why would Myriad ever want to build horsemen? It just doesn't make sense. Because his name isn't Recon, right? Like, Recon is probably the only player I know so frequently that goes horseman with Byzantines, even if he hasn't built Hippodrome. So level 2 assistant online in the meantime. Myriad almost ready for that first pump. In fact, he's prepping. It is going to be Western contract. Yeah, smart read. I mean, you're defending, right? You don't need to come out and attack. His win condition in his eyes is reaching Castle Age fluidly, optimally. On the other side of it, Recon's kind of put himself in a weird bind here. Going double racks plus the stables, he's going for an all-in timing. If he times this right, there is an opportunity to break your opponent. It's between the second and third pump of Lombos, because your opponent will run out of olive oil before he scales past 15. But it's very hard to thread that needle. You're also going to need to make sure you are optimal in your blacksmith timings. Undermesh is a huge deal here, especially now that you're up against Lombos. Limitane marching forward. Recon immediately queuing up the men-at-arms. Food is going to be decent because of the berries, right? And Myriad does have bat berries in a way, but it's deceptive. Also, I always hate these type of spawns when you're being attacked. The problem Myriad now has is unless he walls this off, this is a primary target. He won't get it, right? Because it's exactly what Recon's going to look to block. So you can sneak south side, but that should be it. Meanwhile, Recon has got a lot of extra food to work with because although we mentioned the sheep count is low, he has got the berries buffed here. And he is doing a gradual farm transition. So the whole idea now is all this wood gathered doesn't need to go into archers, mass archers. It just goes into quality feudal units, being horsemen and men-at-arms. Well, color me surprised. This is a bold choice by Myriad. He's not content to just kite and defend. He's looking to attack. I wouldn't have expected this out of a Lombo opening in this matchup. There are some matchups where 100% makes sense. But in this particular one, when you saw horsemen store stables, and you know it's probably going to be racks or archers behind it, you'd think against the HRE economy, you wouldn't want to frontline that. Myriad feeling quite ballsy here. We'll dive in. On the gold isn't going to work out. Arislit's already being queued up. Undermesh on the other side. Recon, of course, doesn't need to worry about the range. Myriad. Well, this is exactly why I thought he'd stay at home. Luckily for him, Recon done a whoopsie. No undermesh prepped ahead of time. So actually, this is a good hold by Myriad and an expensive fight for Recon. Wow, and he's Congo lining them in. What always feels bad about this is the way you gradually lose more and more power as these units flop. And the Lombos just get more and more value, right? Like, they're just making it a more and more efficient trade. In fact, this is an expensive trade right now for Recon. What is that? Was that the fourth one going down? To kill a handful of Limitane. Now, the Limitane are more expensive than standard spears, but it's nothing compared to the MAA. In fact, if you think about the mass involved, basically your entire eco advantage is the difference in cost between Limitane and Men-at-Arms. So Horseman now going to arrive. Unfortunately, there's still a few Limitane left. In fact, this is a terrible fight for Recon to take. Oh, wow. Scout is just about going to get away with that. But this game is looking very uncomfortable now for Recon. He tried to just get ahead for that trade, but this is the thing that should never be happening. When you open Horseman, you should not be in a situation where you can't trade more efficient than your opponent. But one outpost completely shut him out. Crazy. And now, all of a sudden, Myriad, he gets access to the north side resources, berries, deer. The whole world is his. Because now, Recon, even if he scales Horseman, he's going to need all hands on deck to defend. Now Recon can show you his turtling skills. Guys. I'm not going to have any more of this. I will not have it said of his name. Recon is not a turtle. He's a turtle raccoon. They're a cross hybrid. So, you know, every once in a while turtling in a game, he rummages through the trash can next to his PC. An arms count. Should be high enough to push this back. However, the Lombo count has now doubled. Oh my god, dude. This is painful to watch. The problem is he's engaging the Limitane to open the way for the Horsemen, but it means the Lombos are getting better trades than they should be getting here. This should be the mop-up. However, you may be noticing that Myriad's doing something now. There's a reason it's a mop-up. I think Myriad was a bit greedy in this. He should have invested a bit longer, but he clearly understands his real win condition here. We mentioned at the start, it's Castle Age in this matchup. He's done incredible damage at this stage of the game, though. However, with this loss in Lombo count, he is going to open an opportunity. And I'm wondering, Recon, will we just see Siege Engineering in prep of what's been offered? Doesn't look like it. After the way he just took that fight, Recon should know that his opponent was being greedy. Now, behind this, Myriad has at least got Gathering on the north side. He does not, however, have Assistant. So he's not gathering through these at an insane rate. It means he's only going to be able to get, maybe, if he's lucky, 10 Lombos together for the defense. More likely, we're looking at 5. Outpost coming up as well. This is what I call a please don't kill me outpost. I have a feeling your request will be declined. More troops should be coming from Recon. There's a little bit of a slowdown in the production queue, actually. A little bit surprised by this. More farms are being laid in, so we should see maybe eventually 3 Raxes spamming men-at-arms here. Horsemen are going to discover Aris that's already on the outpost north side, so not really a desirable option. Instead, it's going to be a dive underneath the Grand Winery. However, the outpost, with the Aris that's coming through, it's going to become difficult to deal with. And now I come back to that question mark of why no Siege Engineering? The real reason why there was no Siege Engineering here, folks, is that Recon is paranoid about the timing. He understands Myriad is trying to tech up. So he's rushing when he needs to slow down just a little bit. The problem now is all of a sudden Myriad got such a good trade with your dive, he doesn't have to invest as much into troops now. He can delay it. And in fact, now he's ready to go for castle. Battalion line's going to reform, and this game is looking about 2 minutes from done. Recon's all in. He's not holding resources back. By the time he sees the tech up, I imagine he's still going to be 1,000 resources short. Looks like this raid might be able to find some villages, so a nice little clawback there, but the problem is you're going to get contested. Even if you somehow get these villages, the amount of men-at-arms you're going to lose is the one advantage you have gone. Tricky game. I think, in hindsight, Recon, looking at this game, his critical blunder was going for the trade with the horsemen and then bringing them home. I think you just need to keep hunting, circling like a shark. Because anytime you run back across the field like that into premium units, you're feeding over any chance of a turnaround. Like, if there's one big note and takeaway we've seen out of the best players in the game right now, is learning how to accept a loss and get a trade in return. If you think about what happened when he raided with his horsemen back here, he got nothing but traded poorly on his side of the map, with what should be considered to be a premium unit in Feudal Age, and a premium civ economically. Next wave of Longbows coming. Recon, once again, a situation where he probably should be diving, but now it's going to feel too late. Outposts should be getting a quick repair. Fortifications also being queued up. Samira's like, okay, you're going to keep coming here. I'm going to make sure this never falls. Myriad. Okay. I think you lost a villager for that. A little bit cocky and unnecessary. Oh, this is smart. So now, men-at-arms are going to drag over the Lombos, and you can pull the villagers for a quick repair. This is not going down. Oh, this is brutal. Recon halfway to what he needs for Castle Age now. But he's going to feel a mile behind. Varangian spam begins, and this is exactly why the Byzantines feel ridiculous right now. The production rate is too good. You're getting a Varangian every 18 seconds. Your opponent takes 23 seconds. I hesitate to think how much effort has been wasted on this outpost and how little has been gained. Varangian now in play, and all of a sudden Recon's going to try to swarm them. It's kind of the only way he can take this. He needs to just scud them down one by one. The problem is the count already being more or less even to what you have, it's not going to happen. And the Regnants afterwards for Recon means he's playing greed instead of all in, right? He's now trying to recover his game for the late game that we see out of the HRE. The problem, however, here is that this build from the Byzantines doesn't let you get there. It cuts you off in the mid game. This is going to get vicious. Another crazy thing is the fact that because he went Western Contract, he now can switch into Landsknecht if he chooses. Lance mixed in against mass men-at-arms will always win. I just looked at the chat where someone's like, Byzantines can't age up now, right? you underestimate their power, sir. And what a power play right now. Myriad is running across the map to take the safest relic away from Recon. This is so unnecessary. Oh, wait, what? The outpost was pretty much done. I'm a little bit shocked by that. So the Mongolese gets taken down, but I imagine, yep, there's another one coming out here. And more Varangian on the way. The only advantage Recon has right now is mobility. The problem is, this is going to be similar to the Feudal moment. Remember that Feudal moment where he's like, oh, I'll attack the enemy. Oh, the slow-moving armies attack me first. That's going to happen again. Only this time it won't just end at your army. It's going to leak into your economy. Vet Lombo's also in as well. Funnily enough, attacking Regnants. Interesting choice. Recon's starting to get dove, so a lot of Idolico in the coming minutes for him. This is going to be a difficult hold. He has at least got fortifications coming in. However, it's arrow slits, not springolds. I'm trying desperately to find a way out for Recon. Maybe if Myriad overextends, dives a bit too deep. If you can scale the men-at-arms numbers a bit more and get heavy maces, you can push him back. But like what's happening is with this space being made, Myriad should be taking the majority of relics on the map. In fact, he's already yoinked the one close to base. I'm impressed by the fact that Recon is looking at 2 relics right now, though. He shouldn't be getting 2 relics in this game. That's insane. Oh, wow. Wait, did the Varangian get distracted by the outpost? Okay, that's actually crazy. Recon's going to get 2 relics. Flash in the center. No heavy maces still, so actually a terrible trade for Recon to be taking. It feels like the Lombos are just doing a lot more damage than the Knight inclusion. Yeah, that... I get that Recon wants control of his base, but I think he's doing that classic run before you can walk situation, right? Heavy maces isn't there yet. Like, you're already fighting an uphill battle against Mass Varangian. You make it so much harder when you don't wait for your attacks. And while I understand the need with the dive coming out, I feel like the moment you see the Byzantine player backing up, you go back into your base. Because you have marching drills to disengage. But I think he was so paranoid about getting idled on the farms that he had to commit. And now, Myriad's going to look to commit as well. Double Kara Siphon. Mass Varangian. We're even now getting some Lance Guided in. While Heavy Maces is going to be there, now it's a 2-1 military advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at Teardrop Shields soon. Because Teardrop Shields is disgusting here. Torch coming in. E-Repairs is going to be used. Funnily enough, actually, this is enough damage to slowly burn through it. Also, this feels painful because it's arrow slits. It's not like you're buffing a Sprue in placement. Now, credit to him. Recon is doing the right thing. He's targeting down the squishies, which is the longbows. But now with E-Repairs gone and a lot of houses on the front side, you're going to want to preemptively prep your backside. Unless you want your real backside to get spanked. We dive with longbows. I like being pulled back in the meantime. Siege Workshop has been dropped. The checkpoint we go. Now, here's the funny part, guys. If you just move up and Kara Siphon burn, you're going to start dishing dot out to these guys, which is going to just offset the difference in health between these units. Funnily enough, Myriad doesn't do that, though. And yet, it doesn't matter. Oh my god. This is what I mean. Like, how can you look at Varangian versus Men-at-Arms and not think, hey, Heavy Maces should win that? Only then you watch the fights and your jaw just starts to drop a little. The +1 damage, the difference in attack speed as well, 1.12 versus 1.38. It's freaking absurd what these guys can do. And if they do suddenly outnumber you and you start to lose, then they activate Berserk and it's all over. Mango is at least surviving for a bit, but there's way too many Varangian in there. I think it's the end of the road for Recon here. The only reason he doesn't realize it yet is we can see it's 25 Varangian on the map. He doesn't know the next wave's in yet. He can anticipate it. But it's almost like a false sense of delusion here. I can still get this game. I can still... No. 13 Vikings say no. Sick game. And yes, you're correct. There is a big advantage in the melee defense. It's actually insane here. Remember, the Varangian get +1 armor anyway, then you're getting the extra +2. So there's a 3 damage difference there, which offsets half the value of Heavy Maces. Then you include the extra attack speed, and it's no wonder the Varangian destroy the Men-at-Arms one-on-one. Farms now being breached as well. I mean, this is over. Recon's issue is he went for a feudal all-in play, and then you could see time and time again, he couldn't find the commitment point. With the Horseman raid, he never found a good commitment point. With the Men-at-Arms Surge follow-up after Myriad threw away his army, no commitment point. He kept dancing back and forth between the farms and between the berries. And in both cases, he was basically held hostage by a single outpost. This is brutal. Well, guys, you know what to do. Clip it, ship it, send it to Krakeny, and ask him, do the HRE need to be nerfed as much as the Byzantines? That's going to be the meme for the week for everyone, isn't it? Land Sector of Narride, and that is going to be a GG. Meet your better HRE.